Hey everyone, Josh here with Fresh Start Customs, and today I'm going to be showing you guys how to edit your photos for Glowforge or other laser engravers. Keep in mind you may have to do something special that I don't know about on other engravers, and this is just how I do it personally. I've never had an issue with it. I don't do photo engraving that often, so I've only got a handful of examples to show you. I'm not going to print off any of the ones that we do today just because it would take like an hour to print. But I'm going to show you guys how to prepare your photos, and we're going to show you all the ins and outs of it here today. So with all that out of the way, let's jump right into this. I have 3 photos I took from the local zoo here. I've got this one with regular lighting, this one with a really dark lighting, and then this one with an overexposure. And first thing that you want to do is you want to create your canvas size to the correct size. As you can see, this photo is huge. It's 52 by 36 inches. That's massive. So what you want to do is create whatever size photo you want. You'll just go up to File, click New, and you'll get a box just like this, and you'll type in the document size you want. So for example, I made this one 6 inches wide by 4 inches high. That's like a standard photo. And then you want to make sure you have a resolution of 300 pixels per inch. So this is the canvas we're going to be working with. This is going to be the only photo that I show you an example of the right canvas size, just because for the sake of the video, I don't want to keep recreating canvas sizes here. But once you create a new canvas like this, just open or drag your photo up to that canvas and drop it in. And then hit Control-T to transform and Control-0 to zoom out so you can see the little handles here. And then you can scale this down to whatever size you need so it fits in that box. It will cut off some of the edges depending on how your photo was taken. So just center your subject how you want it to be. So for this example, this is my subject here is this rhino. I'm going to click OK, or the little check box up top. And then I'm going to hit Control-0 again to zoom back in. So now we have the right size of the canvas. We are going to edit this photo here. What we're going to do is, with this photo, since it has normal lighting, we probably won't have to edit the photo itself. I'm going to show you that in these other 2 photos in just a second here. But since this one has all the right lighting, all you have to do is go up to Image, click on Adjustments, and then click on Black and White. And then as you can see, you get this little black and white scaler here, and you can slide these up and down to try to help the exposure. So for example, up here, we want that to be a little bit lighter. So we're going to zoom out on this little slider here. It's going to make it brighter. And then you can kind of mess with these how you want. A lot of times your photo engraving for black and white is going to be pretty bright. And then whenever it engraves on the wood, it's going to look a lot better. If you do it darker, it's going to come out a little dark, and I'll show you an example of that here in just a second. But this looks actually pretty good all by itself, so we're going to click OK. And then if there's any areas that you want to lighten or darken, you just come over here to either the Dodge or Burn tool. Dodge tool will lighten it up, Burn tool will darken it up. So let's click on the Dodge tool first. And then I'm going to make this brush a little bit smaller. And as you can see, this is a little bit dark in the background, so I'm going to lighten this up just a smidge. And I'm going to leave a little bit of a dark shadow there around his eye there, just so it can catch that. And then lighten some of this up in the background here too. And all in all, that looks really good to me. I think that's going to look great on the engraver already. So I'm going to call this one good. That one was super easy though. Now the next 2 you're going to have to do a little bit more to get them to look better, since they're a darker exposure or the brighter exposure. So we're going to start with this tiger here. As you can see, this side is super dark here, along with the rock here. It's really dark. So what we want to do is edit your image first so it looks like a normal photo. We're going to go up to Filter, click on Camera Raw Filter. And then that's going to pop up like this, and you'll have all these sliders and options here. It's looking a little bluish color, so I'm going to try and turn the tint up. Not that it's going to matter, because we're going to turn this black and white anyways. But that looks pretty good right there. What I like to do is start off by reducing the shadows here. As you can see, that's reducing the shadows quite a bit over here. And you can turn up the exposure if you need to. And then if it's too bright there, you can always bring the shadows back in. You can reduce the blacks to get even more of a lighter background here. It's starting to look a little hazy, so you can add some clarity to it. And then you can kind of work with these to get the look that you want here. And then contrast will kind of bring in some of those colors again. Just like that. That looks pretty good. And then we can clean this up with the dodge tool if we need to. But it may get a little grainy since it was really dark. So you can kind of backtrack off those shadows again. Something like that looks pretty decent. We're going to just click OK. You can tinker with that as much as you want. But this looks pretty good so far. So what we're going to do now is go back into image, adjustments, and then we're going to go to black and white. And now we have this scale here that we can kind of tinker around with the settings again, and then bring up the contrast on these by sliding that down. As you can see, it starts to look a little pixelated the brighter it gets, but it's still going to look good on engraving. So once it engraves, it's pretty forgiving there. So you always want it to look a little bit brighter than what your eye normally thinks that it would be. So just kind of mess with these until you find the right flow for your laser engraver. But on the Glowforge, it always tends to be like a brighter color on the photo will work better because the engraving always shows up darker. So we're going to click OK. That looks pretty good there. And then we can use that dodge tool again. And then we can kind of lighten up some of these areas if we have to. See the rock there. You can see it lighten up a little bit there. And then you can kind of go through and you can paint like his nose here, for example, lighten it up. You don't want to go too harsh on it so it looks unnatural. But that looks pretty good. Now keep in mind, you got all of this in the background here is pretty dark. This will all engrave, so this will be darker as well. You can lighten it up with the same tool. As you can see, I'm lightening it here. And you can do that as much as you want. Now, another option that you can do is you could actually use like the lasso tool or selection tool, and you can select all of this area out here and delete it. Or you can use the pen tool, and you can draw all the way around like this rock here, for example. This is a really terrible rough draft, but you can draw all the way around this image of this tiger here. I'm going super fast, so it doesn't look good at all. But basically, you go all the way around, make the selection, and you can delete this back selection here. Let me just finish drawing this out really quick. It's going to be super rough and super fast here just to show you what I'm talking about. So I'm going to skip over a lot of his body and a lot of this section here. But just imagine that I did a really good job drawing this, and we'll call that a day. So after you make the selection up top here, go get this little box, click OK, and you can actually delete that selection here if you want to. You can fill it with like white, for example, and then it won't engrave this at all. It'll just completely ignore this in the laser here. Like I said, that was super rough and looks terrible there, but that's just to give you guys an idea. If you want to get rid of the background on an image, you can do that. And then you can always come in here with like your spot healing tool. If you don't want like these bugs that are on him, you can just like click on them and they'll disappear with the spot healing tool. And then you can engrave your tiger, come out really cool looking. Lastly is the overexposed photo here. You want to try to do your best with like that camera raw filter again, make it look like a normal photo if possible. This one is going to look a little rough because it is so overexposed. You can bring this exposure down a little bit and then reduce like your highlights, for example, and then increase or reduce your shadows to bring out some of the texture of the coat here. And then the whites are kind of bright here. We'll bring that down a little bit. And you'll kind of have to work back and forth to whatever looks best to you. As I said before, this is a little rough because it is a very low quality image and it's overexposed. So something like this is going to be okay. And then when we get to the black and whites, that's where it's a little bit more forgiving. We get to this right here, and then we can kind of reduce each section to make it look a little bit better here. There we go. Something like that, maybe. Maybe even a little bit lighter on like the blue jeans here. There we go. Something like that looks pretty decent. So we'll click OK. And then you can always go back in with like that dodge or burn tool. So the burn tool will make it a little bit darker around my face here. Something like that would look pretty cool. And then you can kind of just touch up any area you think should be darker or any area should be lighter. You can go with that dodge tool. So if you want the coat to show a little bit more, I can go through with dodge and make it more grainy. So the laser engraver can show the coat a little bit extra. I can do the coating on these penguins in the background here. There we go. Something like that would turn out pretty good. Even though it's a low quality image, I think it would still look pretty good. But there are going to be some images that are like super grainy and it's just not going to look good at all. So you can tinker with those however much you like, but eventually you may find an image that just will not engrave for you guys. So next up, we're going to go back to this rhino. You're going to save your rhino as like a PNG or a JPEG image. And then you're going to open it with Illustrator. It's going to look like this when you first open it with Illustrator. You're going to grab this image and then pull it into whatever preset document you have for your laser. I have a 12 by 20 preset layout here for my laser engraver. And as you can see, this is 6 by 4 like I made it originally in that first image that I showed you guys how to get the sizing on. And then that makes it super easy to put a cut line around it. Just click the rectangle tool. You'll just click anywhere on the actual artboard here. We can type in a width of 6, a height of 4, click OK. And then we'll change the cut line to an actual color like red. And then now we can highlight both of these and use the align tool to align them up. And as you can see, if I zoom in, it'll make it easier for you to see. You can see that nice red line. It's perfectly around your image, and I could cut out the image just like that. If I wanted to, I could actually, whoops, I clicked the actual image here. If I can click the line, I can actually make the line bigger and make an offset cut. So let's say we want like an 8 inches on the outside here, and then you could actually unlink this and make it like 8 by 6, for example. And you can center your image and have an offset cut. So this won't be engraved, but it'll actually be cut out, and then this will be centered in your wood as well. So those are two different options that you have to cut out your engraving after you make it here. Now let me show you guys some other examples too. So let's say you're going to put this on spray painted tile, for example. You will want to invert this. So you can go to adjustments and then click on invert. It's going to look super weird, but when you print it on like painted tile, for example, it's going to look something like this. This is an inverted image of a dock and a space scene that I made. And then I just added in coloring after with color pencils. So you can do different things like that. It may look a little weird with like tile like that or painted tile. You'll want to do this for acrylic as well, since it'll engrave opposite. That's when you'll do the invert. But for the regular version, you'll do that for wood. And that'll end up looking something like this here. Here's an example where it kind of fades into the eagle and the American flag. And then here is what I was talking about, where it's a little bit, it engraves darker than what you think. So this is one of the first images that I engraved. And it engraves a little bit darker than what it looks like on the editing software. But it still turned out all right. It was a really dark background. And that's where you could actually, like I said, take the pen tool and then kind of cut around and remove that entire background. So it would just be the images of these two and the dog here. and it would look really good just like that. So just a heads up on that, that's where it would come out darker. And then you can do a regular image on tile with black Sharpie. I have a video like that as well, and it'll turn out looking like this. Super cool. So kind of like that tiger we edited earlier, you could put that on a tile and use some black Sharpie, get this looking effect here. Other than that, I think I covered pretty much everything with photo engraving here. If you have other questions, feel free to comment below. Other than that, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, got something useful out of it, and we'll catch you guys in the next one.